The Wolves with the majestic victory over the Clippers. I compared the Wolves to our Detroit Pistons prior to that game because it felt like it was a franchise that was in purgatory for so long that was finally ready to get over the hump. And it was mostly because they have their blue chips. They have Cat, they have Anthony Edwards, and they took a risk on a guy like D'Angelo Russell, who, no matter what you want to say about D'Angelo Russell, he can hoop. He can put up numbers. That three did their job, even with Cat underperforming in the spotlight. But then the celebration comes. And people are very torn on this cart. People are not happy. Some people are defending the Wolves, like you should celebrate anything. You are notorious for saying we should not celebrate little wins. We should stay low and build. That is the Carter Elliott mantra. I have to know, are you happy with this celebration?
So I made my official statement. I'm not happy with the celebration. I think it went over the top. Like, I think Patrick Beverley and them would have every right to, in the post-game press conference, take a couple shots, be like, Clippers didn't want me, all that nonsense. But the jumping on the table, the tears, the throwing the jersey into the crowd, just way too much for me. Like, come on now.
So the tears might be the point where I felt like it was over the top, but I'm perfectly okay with it being over the top. I think it's hilarious.
Well, I don't know that it's funny, but I don't think that it's warranted.
See, I don't know that I would personally necessarily go to the lengths that those players and mostly Pat Beverley did, but you also know, Cart, I'm a pretty spiteful person. I'm pretty fueled by, if you wrong me.
No way.
If you wrong me, I'm pretty motivated by things of that nature. And that's where this is coming from Pat Bev, is it not? Like, Pat Bev despises the Clippers organization. After all the years he spent there, he was a teammate with these dudes. And you could even say maybe Pat Bev shares some of our viewpoints on the Champagne Clippers, right? Like, or the West Coast, the LA Illini, is that what we call it?
So the LA Fighting Illini.
I always mix that. But like, that's the part to me is like, he's emotional because he got them back. He got his revenge. And I can appreciate that.
I can appreciate that too. But at the same time, like, Pat Bev walked into the Clippers office and he wanted money. And they're like, we're not paying you that because you're Pat Bev. And that's okay to say. Like, also, I hope you realize the Clippers are going to be like back next year.
Are they?
They got all these picks. They got Kawhi coming back. They have Paul George. They are going to be back. And that's because they have money, because they didn't pay guys like like Pat Bev for all the greatness that he is. Like,
are they going to be better than the Wolves next year, though?
Yes.
Like, I'm kind of here for Pat Bev continuing to have more success than the Clippers.
No, they will be better. And also, like, the Wolves might get swept. I mean, I don't personally think they'll get swept, but like, there's a good chance they get swept.
I'm convinced that series is going to go 7. Wolves, Grizz.
I said 5. I said gentleman's sweep.
But here's the thing. Anthony Edwards is a playoff number 1 right now. I feel strongly about that. And if Cat starts to play like
in one playoff game, he's a playoff number 1. I watched a lot of Wolves this year, and Ant Edwards has had Karl Anthony Towns types games a lot. Like, that's kind of the greatness of him. Like, he that's why he's him.
First of all, when have you been watching a lot of Wolves games this year?
I have NBA League Pass.
So do I, but I don't think I dusted off the cobwebs from that until the second week of April.
I mean, I'm Karl Anthony Towns' biggest fan.
Are you actually?
Yes, I love Karl Anthony Towns.
So in that case, can we talk about Cat? Where was he?
Well, I just think he got mixed up a little bit. I don't think he realized that Ramadan means you just can't eat food. It doesn't mean you can't eat on the court. And that's what that was, basically.
Is Karl Anthony Towns participating in Ramadan or celebrating Ramadan?
No, he's not even Muslim. That was just a stretch by me. I don't know what that was by him, to be honest. Like, it was one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. He was completely out of sorts. I really don't know what it was, but my Anthony Towns agenda took a major hit, but they still won the basketball game, thank God, so he can bounce back. But that was That was terrible, but lucky for him, he had guys like Anthony Edwards step up. It must be nice to have your second-year players step up in a play-in game and get you over the hump and get you a win. Some teams, second-year players can't do that.
Yeah, so you're insinuating that Ant is maybe a preferable option to somebody like LaMelo Ball, which I am firmly waving the flag of. Listen, I like both players. LaMelo's obviously a great talent, but I thought that Anthony Edwards has gotten a raw deal since the pre-draft process. I remember going back to the beginning of that draft, and like it felt like all the NBA people who didn't watch Anthony Edwards in college were adamant that he should not be the number one pick. He's just going to be like an empty stats scoring guy who doesn't really love the game and has personality questions. And I was like, okay, like, are you just getting that from the record of his Georgia team and that's it? Because if you watch this dude in the fucking Maui Invitational when the lights were brightest, this dude is the biggest big game gamer guard that I've seen in 5 years. And I still feel that way. I think like when he got to the league, he kind of instantly turned his motor on, and the Wolves were still bad. So it kind of fueled and fed the narrative that he's just an eater on bad teams. But like, look at him now. Here we are in a playoff game, and he scores the first 7 points like that. He's a bulldozer getting to the rim when he wants to. He's getting up like 7 threes a game and making 4 of them. I love this dude. I think he's electric. I think he's a 30-point scorer on a winning team. And then you watch what LaMelo did in the game against the Hawks. He doesn't guard anybody, and he's never guarded anybody. Going back to his high school days, like where has the narrative come that LaMelo Ball's a winner and Anthony Edwards isn't?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you hit the nail on the head. It was all just these pre-draft narratives that I don't know. If that's the case on whoever we're drafting for the Pistons this year, I want to find out who loves the game the least.
Who of the big three? Actually, you know who it is this year? It's Jaden Ivey.
Who loves the game the least?
Jaden Ivey is going to be the narrative. He loves the game the least guy.
I think Jabari would be the guy who loves the game the least, because he had that coming into this year. He was a top 10 prospect, but like people said, his motor, he hasn't put it all together yet. I feel like he's the player that if we went back and looked at even like the high school rankings type things, like talent wise, I think he was in like the 12 to 8 range of like top 100. But they're like, it was one of those guys where they're like, oh, he's a top 3 player in this class, but motor hasn't put together. That, you know how that goes. There's one of those players every single year. So I think that narrative is someone's gonna bring it up with Jabari. I feel like.
So we want Jabari Smith. Jaden Ivey's just the guy who actually doesn't love the game. You're right.
I think Jaden Ivey actually loves the game.
I think he doesn't.
His mom's a coach.
His mom loves the game. Little Cormac Christie for you.
Oh God, I'm about to ban that name from this pod.
Listen, Jaden Ivey, just because he can jump, he's got to be forced to go out there play 35 minutes, man. Like
just because
he's a trained actor. He's a theater kid. He wants to perform. He wants to put a show on. He doesn't love the game.
Don't put first team All-American Jaden Ivey in the same sense as Cormac Christie ever.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm sorry about that. All right. Anything else on the Wolves from you?
No, I'm excited to see that series though.
I didn't realize you were such a big Cat fan. That kind of explains a lot to me about you, but yeah. Interesting.
In a good or a bad way?
I don't know. I got to process that a little bit. All right. I put out a video yesterday